All our mics are on? Okay, we'll call the meeting of the Local Agency Formation Commission
Scott,
in
can you hear
Mendocino
us?
County for Monday, July 11th. First, we'll do roll call, please.
Commissioner McNerlin.
Present.
Commissioner Madrigal. Commissioner McCowan.
Here.
Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Orth.
Here.
Commissioner Hamburg. Commissioner Silver.
Here.
Commissioner Rosenberg.
Here.
Apologies from Commissioner Hammerstrom and Commissioner Doble.
Thank you. So, public expression, the commission welcomes participation in LAFCO meeting. Any person may address the commission on any subject within the jurisdiction of LAFCO which is not on the agenda. There is a 3-minute limit and no action will be taken at this meeting. Individuals wishing to address the commission under public expression are welcome to do so throughout the meeting. Seeing nobody in the public, we'll move on to consent calendar.
Do you have any items to?
I would like to pull 3 and 4.
I'll move approval of item number 2 on the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion with a second to approve the regular minute meetings of July 11th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no and opposed, so ordered. First of all, in the claims, there was a check for Baracco and Associates for $2,400. Looking at last month's budget, it was left over was $59.15. So if you subtract the contract that you're going to do for the MSRs for the cemetery district, left $2,015, not $2,400. And second of all, I just for the benefit of the commission, our monthly report is off a little bit, and we'll go. I think we're going to have a meeting afterwards with our EO, but it doesn't add up. Like basic services is not 43,000; it's 62,000, and then Baracco Associates final payment would be 2015, and then we needed to add the Plan West transition, which I did sign the contract for $2,460, I think. So, but I thought we would pay it after he sends us an invoice. So, but we did talk about paying it this month, but apparently it didn't move on. So, saying that, and the last thing on the application cost track, Anderson Valley CSD, you have a deposit of $6,000, and it is mentioned that they would pay $6,000, but I looked at the bank statement as of yesterday, and there was no $6,000 deposit. There was a $1,500 deposit last month, and that's all we've received so far from them. Unless, I wouldn't think you'd give it to the county, would you? So it's not in our bank statement.
Okay, I'll check into it. I deposited it.
So the application is correct. I did see that Irish Beach, more annexation, you did contact them to see about getting that paid up, but everything else looks good. Anybody else have some questions on item 2 and 3 and 4? I'm done. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of items 3 and 4 and the chair to work with staff to correct the discrepancies.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner McNerlin.
Aye.
Commissioner Madrigal. Commissioner McCowan.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Orth.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 5, report on fiscal year 2015-16 financials. I'd like to begin by saying our audit report for 2015, June 30th, is complete. I think everybody received a copy of it. Now that The accounts payables are through July. I will begin compiling the information for our June 30th, 2016 financials and get them off to Paling. And hopefully all goes well. We might have it on time in October, maybe, November, and we'll be on schedule. And we can't complain about anybody else having financials late. So in your handout today, I provided a list of our cash balances as of June 30th. Our savings bank, does everybody have a copy of it? Our savings bank account at June 30th shows $65,801. Cash and treasury at the county left over from, as of June 30th, $14,748. I took out the claims for June. That was in our last year's budget, paid in July. The Baracco and Associates remaining 2015, new contract with Hinman on the cemetery districts. And then you take out the application money that we hold as deposits, and then are taking out our deficit of $39,175. And then we have today to discuss a proposed addition to operating budget, assuming that passes, leaves a balance of $9,124. And then, of course, our reserve and our general account with Mendocino Lake Credit Union is roughly $100,100. But I just wanted to give that as a recap to let you know that we are getting that large amount of money. I think it was $71,000 last year, down to something that's getting close to zero. And I think there was some discussion that we wanted to know what our operating budget or our net cash flow was if we wanted to increase the operating budget for the proposed additions today and see if there was enough money. And it looks like we would be okay with that. Any questions? Anything I can answer?
Yes.
Yeah, Jerry, I just want to thank you for doing this, because it's been a bit of a moving target for so long that it's nice to see it,
Yeah.
how much cash we actually have.
So next year, if we assume a budget of $120,000 in appropriation fees, whatever fees,
Close enough.
and if we're going to have another deficit of $39,000, it's going to have to come out of reserves, because we're not going to have that excess fund. I know we will probably have some excess funds from our operating budget like we do every year, because we don't spend in every account, but we're getting down to the point where we've got to be careful. Okay, that was just a verbal report. We'll move on to public hearings. Item 6. The fiscal year 2016-17 budget amendment. Beth, we have proof of publication on this?
Yes, it's in your packets.
Okay. We did receive this morning a agenda summary from Uma on that. Uma, I'll let you take it from there.
Thank you. I apologize for not having the staff report portion of this in your agenda packet. It was an error on my part. What was included in the packet was the draft resolution and the proposed budget amendment spreadsheet. So the staff report, which you should all have a copy of, hopefully. Okay. So during the contract negotiations and discussion with the executive committee, 2 items were identified that we are requesting an amendment for today. One was for basic services, and the second item was for GIS support services. For the basic services, when Mendocino LAFCO requested that the clerk position come under the executive officer contract, we started negotiations with Beth for that clerk contract, and the rate, her rate had increased. So that is the purpose of the increase in the budget amendment today. That'll be approximately $3,680 that would go under basic services. And the second item that was Not included in the RFP for the executive officer position was the GIS services. There's also no line item in the budget for that service. We have contacted the county GIS department, Mr. Farr, and he has given us a rough estimate of about 40 hours worth of work to support the work plan for the sphere of influence updates and the MSR updates. So that would be a total of $3,622. And that is a rough estimate that would be billed to the county, or billed to LAFCO by the county at a rate of $90.55 an hour. So the total budget amendment request is $7,302.
Uma, on the amount for Mr. Farr, is that going to be in a contract form?
Yes, the county is drafting a service agreement that they're going to provide to us for review.
So it'll be similar to what we just did with Plan West, where a not to exceed number?
I looked at the previous one with the county that was done, I think, in 2012. There was no cap on it. It was just an hourly rate, and then he would give estimates by task.
Okay. Teresa and then Holly.
So if the GIS wasn't in the budget, how have we been paying for that? For all the previous MSRs and sphere of influences?
I believe Plan West is paying for it through their general services contract.
And that's what I was going to mention. We discussed at the executive committee meeting that Plan West just did this as part of what they had in-house, the mapping, you know, the maps that we get and the official things. But so we didn't have it separated out, you know, in our budget, but it came up as an error because that's something that we're still going to need to do. Probably not as many as we have, you know, this past year. Because I think a lot of maps have been done now at this point. So in theory, it shouldn't be a ton, but with every sphere, there needs to be a map on file that's accurate.
Correct, yeah.
Is that, you have a question too, Holly, or
No, I just wanted to clarify that.
does that answer your question, Teresa?
Yeah, so that actually,
Yes, I guess it's something we didn't take into consideration when we went out to
Yeah.
bid to an
Yeah.
RFP process.
which we didn't,
We didn't add that in there.
right.
So,
That's a big mistake.
do we want to cap it? Do we want to just keep it an open deal, John?
Well, I think just keep it open, and it's a service that we have to have.
Sure.
This is how we provided for it previously. I think that the county department, and Lee Farr in particular, I think do very good work.
Yep.
I think it's a cost-effective way to go.
Okay.
And so I would, you know, when you write a contract, you know, I think we have an estimate, this is one I'm okay with an estimate, but it's simply on a pay-as-you-go basis.
Okay. We'll have that contract next commission meeting?
Anticipate at the beginning of this week, yeah.
Okay. Tony?
The only other public agency I'm aware of with the equipment to do this is the COG, but they got a big grant to pay for that and train 2 employees, so it's pretty expensive to set up to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But I don't know too many. I guess there's a planning agency, that private one, that almost bid for our services that might be able to generate a bid locally. Are you aware of any other GIS mapping agencies or private concerns that could even bid?
Well, I doubt they would be as responsive as we found Leaf to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? I assume then depending on the motion, I'll review the contract, and you want me to bring it back for approval to the commission? Do you want me to?
I don't think it's necessary,
Okay.
personally.
Pardon?
You could do a motion now for you to sign it. The contract should be here within a matter of
Okay.
days.
To me, it's kind of inherent in the action we're approving.
All right, so, Holly.
I would be willing to make a motion to approve the budget amendment for 2016-17 and including direction for the chair to sign that contract.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Got a second? Do we have to submit our budget to all the districts with this change, and post it, or put it on, do you know?
Beth and I talked about that might be a good idea, and along with that, including a letter of introduction as kind of announcing the change in EOs.
Okay.
That's good.
Good with everybody? Carol?
I'm really concerned about how tight the budget is. I know that you're trying not to have excesses at the end of the year, but I think you're I know there's been lots of inquiries for other kinds of things, and I think you need to have a little bit of fat in a budget in order just to take care of emergencies or errors of things that have been left out. And I feel a little uncomfortable at how tight our budget is.
Well, there's some people who think our reserve fund is too high too, so, we could always take from reserves if we do get in a pinch. But, that's one of the reasons I wanted to come up with the unused cash, so we know where we stand. Next year might be a little more interesting, might have to think about it a little more harder. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call on this one, please.
Commissioner McNarland? Commissioner Madrigal?
Yes?
Commissioner McCowan?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Orth?
Yes?
Commissioner Ward?
Yes, thank you. Move on to item 7, status of applications, future projects, MSR SOI updates. Uma?
Thank you. So we have 4 active applications. We have updates for a few of them. The Anderson Valley CSD application is incomplete, and we're sending out a letter, and we'll be contacting them this week. There's no change on the City of Ukiah detachment of the UVSD. The Fort Bragg Rural Fire Protection District north of 10 Mile annexation. SHN engineers did submit a revised annexation map and legal description. It has been initially reviewed by Lee Farr with Mendocino County GIS, and he approved it. He recommended that the county surveyor also review that, so that's what we're waiting for at this point, is for his approval. Once that happens, then the map will come back to LAFCO for signature, and we can complete the annexation process. The Fort Bragg detachment, Rural Fire Protection Detachment, I reviewed the files on this, and it looks like in April of 2012, we received a rejection letter from the Board of Equalization on the legal description. That's in the process of being fixed, and I did call Chief Orsi earlier this month. He's been on vacation, and so we have plans to talk this week about what the status of that correction is, and then they have already submitted the processing fee, so we're just waiting for that legal description at this point. Don't have any updates on the future projects since the last meeting. On the cemetery districts, we have started the MSR portion of that, and we've completed a template, and we'll be working with Beth to get that going. And then we're still reviewing the files and figuring out where we are with the fire districts and the city of Willits and Russian River. That's all I have by way of an update, unless there's some questions.
Okay, a question came up from our EO about a SOI template. Is the one we've been using satisfactory to the commission? Do you want to see any changes to it as far as the way it's laid out? Or do you want to just continue what we've been doing through Plan West? That was a question to me. John?
Well, for those for whom no change is requested or anticipated, I think it could be greatly simplified, and I'd be willing to entertain suggestions from the executive officer for that.
Okay.
Jerry?
Tony?
The biggest issue that's arisen with the fire districts, SOI is going to be pretty important, but the population numbers generated through the MSR process were about 10,000 over the county population, if you add it all up. So population's been a moving target in trying to figure out for specific communities of interest, and population goes into federal and state grants. So it's something that I think we should be aware of, that we're just not generating very accurate population numbers for each of the districts. Seems to be a very tough nut. And LAFCO seems to be the agency that has the most in the ability to put those numbers accurately onto a document. So somehow we got to figure it out.
I think she heard you. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Well,
Sorry.
I think the challenge is that the census tracts don't match up with district boundaries, so
That's true.
inherently they become estimates or guesstimates.
One of the districts testified as to how they had more registered voters than the population number that was generated for their district.
So,
Holly?
Tony, are you referring to population estimates in the future, or are you referring to stated populations as existing?
We don't really have a guaranteed mechanism to put all these census numbers together. You can go into the 4-digit add-on number, and it just doesn't seem that any agency is getting it down accurately.
So you're talking about the numbers that we're using, just like this many people are in this district?
There's different ways to crunch the numbers. There's different ways to find the numbers. We just don't seem to have any, I mean, it's just a moving target. So we could somehow come up with the best way to generate population numbers. It would help a lot of agencies.
Well, I'm sure you'd be looking at those SOIs and MSRs more closely for population anyway, and you bring them up to us too. Okay, I think it might be appropriate, Mistress Carmela from Boonville was asking about how the SOI costs came about. It is one of our application here. Did we respond to him okay on that? He was asking how we came up with $39,000 for doing our SOIs for this budget year, and how come Anderson Valley was paying maybe more than they should.
Yeah, I think the question was why should the smaller districts pay similar to the cities, or why should the one district pay for somebody else's SOI? That was kind of the gist of the question. We had some back and forth. I'm not sure that he's satisfied with that number yet, so I'm hoping that's something we can talk about after the meeting today.
Okay. Okay, that was just a status report. We'll move on to correspondence, CSDA.
Can I ask one question before?
Sure.
I saw in the minutes about the Hastings Frontage Road discussion. Is there any updates on that? A frontage road in Ukiah, something?
Yes, last month, an ad hoc committee was formed with Commissioner McCowan, Commissioner Brown to help staff. And after this meeting today, we have a meeting with staff, the commissioners, and Lee Farr. And he's
Great.
going to bring us up to date on how he discovered what he has discovered.
Great, thank you.
And who discovered?
Okay, we'll move on to number 8, correspondence, CSDA Finance Corporation Board. Uma?
Beth, do you want to give an update on this one?
Basically, my goal is to include correspondence here listed, and if you have any further information, usually there's an email or something that's come in the mail to generate this, so you can ask me for more information specifically. I don't really have anything to add other than what's on the agenda.
Okay. And then the second annual Jerry Mello Community Service Award Dinner and Auctions, August 27th. this
And I do
year.
have that flyer with me today if you'd like to have a look at it.
That's a good thing. Okay, we'll move on to 9, Executive Office Report.
So I have a few items. The special district elections, our first deadline for getting things out is August 15th, and that's to get the nomination forms out. And so Beth and I are working on that, and we're on track to get that done. For the Plan West website, I had talked to George earlier a couple of weeks ago, and he said that as soon as the contract was signed, that he would be ready to go on that, and I will follow up with him towards the end of the week to make sure that's in progress.
That contract was signed today.
Great. As far as the Plan West transition of files, I spoke with him about that last week, and we still don't have all the files yet. They had somehow got disconnected from the Mendocino LAFCO Dropbox, so we've fixed that, I think, and he said they would be working on getting those transitioned this week. And that's all I have really for. Oh, and we did receive a box of hard copy files at the office. And that's all I have for executive officer.
So our agenda got posted on the website by Plan West for today's meeting, correct?
It did.
So he's doing some work, but
Website posting only, yes.
only, okay. Yeah, Teresa?
When do we switch over to that new website?
That will be the website transition. He's estimated about 40 hours, so hopefully within the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, there was a question to me about whether on our Cal LAFCO meeting coming up in October, whether our EO could attend. Typically in the past, we've never, I don't believe we paid for the EO to go, although I remember Frank McMichael being in out of Cal LAFCO. I don't know if we paid for it or not. I assume we did. But it's something that the EO would be interested in going if assuming we have it in our budget and not a lot of people go. Just want to get your guys' feedback, John.
Well, I think we hire the EO based on their qualifications and experience, and I personally think it's their responsibility to stay up to speed on that.
Okay. Anybody else?
Where is it this year?
Santa Barbara.
I do find the conferences to be very informative and valuable as far as staying up to speed on things, but I hear your concern about, who fits the bill kind of idea.
It will be in Northern California next year, so it might be a little closer, but I just thought I'd bring it up. Tony?
I do support, I generally do see executive officers going to these conferences, and I do support it, and I'll back out and let her go in my stead. I would think it would be very important, especially for a new EO. And that's part of why you go to the conferences. You're meeting other commissioners and other executive officers, and you learn from each other.
Carol?
Last year, it was really very useful to have some of the people from Plan West there with us, so we could actually talk about some of the things that were going on and how they affected us and how they might affect us in the future. So if it's a choice between our EO not being able to go and our EO going with our commissioners, I think we should go for it.
John?
The question isn't whether it's desirable for the EO to attend the conference. The question is whether LAFCO, spending other people's money, should pay for the professional development of a consultant that we have hired,
Garrett?
not an employee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to add to the debate, I believe we had the same debate with Mr. Baracco when he was our EO, and I can't remember, Beth would have to track it back, but I believe we did pay the costs for him, for one person.
Uma?
I believe for Baracco, the commission paid for half of the registration fee. That was my recollection at that time.
Well, what's the flavor here?
Well, we're either concerned about maintaining control of the budget or not.
Another, in regards to the control of the budget, we allocate, like Tony said, that he would be willing to give up his spot. We allocate a certain amount for commissioners going to the conference. So if there wasn't, if we weren't going to use that full amount, if there were commissioners that weren't intending to go, it seems to me like we could do a swap. I don't know how many commissioners
We
are.
had 3 or 4 that was interested in going last time. I believe I saw a head count of 4, maybe. We typically have enough for 6. Carrie?
I ended up taking Kevin Doble's place, so the registration wouldn't be lost. because he had business come up and totally understood that, and I had to be in Sacramento anyway, I think on the third day of the conference or second day. But I believe Commissioner Rosenthal is absolutely correct in the fact it was so valuable to have staff there, talk with them, especially during the breaks, or maybe you went through a class, heard a speaker, and to be able to sit with a group from our own LAFCO and discuss what we'd heard, how it could be implemented, et cetera, was so very valuable.
So, Teresa,
How much money are we talking about?
what's the registration, about $1,000?
I believe the registration is more around the $450 range. It's the, because it's Santa Barbara, I guess that's why I asked, the Southern California ones. I do typically attend the Cal LAFCO conferences. I have stuck to the Northern California ones just because of the cost, typically. And Santa Barbara is, of course, extra expensive. But a part of my question was there an expectation of attending all of the Cal LAFCO conferences? A lot of their presentations are available on the website after the meeting, so that is another option. But I do hear that the commission believes that it's really important for the executive officer to be there. I would not want to take a commissioner seat. Thank you, though. So I will try to make that work.
Do you remember, Carrie, if we paid half of the $495 for Bruce as a sort of a precedent?
I just don't, but I do remember we had quite a debate, and I can't remember, and I believe it was Commissioner McCowan that brought up the same issue. And it was quite a debate at the time, but just don't remember how it all came out.
Teresa?
I don't think the 450 is the larger number. I think the larger number would be the hotel and the food, right? So what
Yeah.
are we looking at there? Are we looking at room sharing with
Well,
other
you're there 3
commissioners,
nights
or-
at least, 3 nights.
I'm thinking that's where the majority of the expense would be. I mean, I have a daughter at UC Santa Barbara, and that place is crazy.
Don?
And
Well, I think we have had probably the same discussion every time the issue has come up. And I'm not certain, but it does seem that with Baracco, the resolution may have been that we paid half the registration. And if that makes everyone happy, but, again, the main expense is the lodging. So if our cost is limited to half the registration,
Okay.
seems reasonable.
I was going to bring that up as a compromise. Holly?
I was going to say all registration and nothing else, but I'll go with the rule of the commission. But that way we're paying for our LAFCO person to be there, and then as far as room sharing or finding cheaper accommodations or whatever, that could be done.
You were going to research it. John asked maybe we could research that and see if maybe we could do the same we did with Bruce.
Sure.
Carol?
I feel that our budget and the amount of money that we're paying our EO is really very conservative. And I would say pay the registration, and and as far as personal expenses under lodging, that is something that is up to the person. But I really think that paying the registration, the entire 500 or whatever it is a reasonable compromise. I'm with
Carrie?
Holly.
Well, first of all, I want to apologize to Carol for calling you Rosenthal. I was with a Rosenthal this
Everybody
weekend. And Rosenberg is it. I saw that smile and I go, oh my gosh. But I would like to move approval for our EO to attend and pay the full registration fee only.
I'll
Well,
second.
That's the other issue. We're taking action on an item not
Yeah.
on the agenda.
And I just brought it up because it came up to me, and I just
Oh.
want to get how about if we
it on
research
the
what we
agenda.
did, research what we did with Bruce Baracco, and then bring it back next month? We still have a couple of months. Carol?
I think we also need to research what the actual costs per person attending are.
Okay.
Since we are expecting that to be
We'll
quite
have that,
pricey.
we'll have
And
that too.
when we went to Sacramento, thanks to Commissioner Brown, we're not big spenders. We tended to do it as inexpensively as we possibly could in the city.
Sutter House.
And I think, you know, we want to get the information. They're not going on this as a junket kind of thing. So I think that's a very different kind of attitude than, that we need to take in consideration. But we also have to figure out what all the other costs are. And how
Teresa?
that
That
fits.
was my point exactly. Before I vote on anything, I'd like to see an estimate of all the costs
Okay,
and
we'll bring that up
explore
next month.
sharing rooms or cheaper hotels.
Okay.
Airbnb.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay. Sorry to bring it up. It was a question to me, and I think it is important we set a precedent for how we deal with the EO too. And because I think it is important for our EO to be at these CalAFCO, whether they pay for it or we pay for it. Okay, we'll move on to committee reports, number 10. I don't think any committees met. We do have a ad hoc committee meeting today.
Yes, we do.
Very good. Move on to number 11, commissioner reports.
I was happy to see
Mike?
UMA meeting with, so light on is? On, okay. I was excited to run into UMA meeting with our planner, so I know that you guys have had a chance to get together and talk with the City of Willits. And I appreciate that you're getting up to speed on everything. We have been having a lot of discussion about the sphere of influence, specifically in the Revite Ed Committee, revitalization economic development, because we're very interested in the highway interchanges, which are currently outside the city limits, and how those are going to impact our downtown business corridor. So we are staying in close contact because the residents of Willits want to know what our options are.
Okay, good. I had go ahead, John.
Well, the Board of Supervisors has recently gone paperless, and we were, I believe, some of the holdouts that still preferred paper copies, which winds up having our clerk running all around. So unless there's anyone that just really absolutely has to have a paper copy, we might consider going paperless. The agenda is provided to all of us electronically. Each of us could print anything we think we need to print. So let's go paperless.
Well, I'm paperless, so I don't know who's the ones that.
Anybody
Well,
want to
anyway.
put a hand up if they still want paper? Shame you into.
I would be fine with going paperless, and I was impressed to hear how much money the supervisors are saving by doing that. Well done.
And staff time.
Yeah, and staff time.
That's the big one.
And I may be the only one, but I like having a paper agenda, because when you're going paperless, you're scrolling through the agenda packet, and then to keep going back. And since we have to have, I think it's a courtesy to provide the paper agendas to the public.
Mhm. We always have
I
extra.
would continue to like getting a paper agenda, and then I can do all the packets.
At the meeting is sufficient.
Right, at the meeting is sufficient, and then I can get all the info online.
Gary?
Thank you, and I think it's important to note that the Board of Supervisors, and I believe City Councils, going paperless, are provided with the proper iPad, computer, whatever, laptop, and so that may be a cost to LAFCO if we indeed want to go paperless. So I think there's several things to weigh. I don't mind doing it myself on my own county iPad, but that I think should be considered. I don't think it's fair to ask a commissioner to supply their own laptop or iPad if we make that, a requirement.
John?
Well, I would ask who currently has been requesting paper copies. I believe the 3 supervisors were on that list. Who else?
And
I don't have a state-of-the-art, high-quality, high-efficient printer. So if you want to pay for my ink cartridges, those are like, I pay like $100 for my little thing of cartridges, you know. And I just have a big laptop I actually didn't bring today because I was too tired to bring it. So I don't have, honestly,
Yeah.
I'm just exhausted.
the
And
technology
last
is an
time I
issue.
was here, there was no internet, and I hadn't saved it to the desktop or anything, and it was a big, I didn't have anything, paper for the meeting, it was a mess. So I'd like the ability to, you know, try to go paperless, if you want to pay for my ink and my paper and all that. And then if something goes wrong at home, I need to be able to call Beth and say, hey, I need paper this time, you know, because my printer's out, or I don't have ink or whatever.
I do own an iPad. It's just been a function of, I guess I'll have to avoid Alzheimer's by learning how to do notes on my iPad, because I'm used to scrawling, and I guess you can do that on an iPad. I've just never done it.
All right, well, what do we want to do here? Try to be paperless? That's about all we can do, I guess? The 3 supervisors who are getting paper now maybe have the ability to put it on something that'll save 3.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be glad to go paperless. The only thing is the board's packet goes through this program called iLegislate, so we actually get to play with it. You know, we get to make notes and bookmarks and highlight, and I don't think we get to do that with this. I mean, we're just looking at the actual papers, and we can't annotate them in any way. So that, I'm just wondering if LAFCO could use that software, or is that too much? That's not in the cards. I have no idea what it takes to do that.
I can look into it.
You might check with Nicole,
Yeah.
because she would know.
It does seem like it's worthwhile to move in that direction, but not, you know, not do any policy at this point, you know.
Yeah, it's not agendized
working-
for policy.
Yeah, working with us to see what barriers there are to being paperless, and looking into the software. Because I appreciate Commissioner Brown bringing up the technology issue, because we don't want to prohibit someone from serving as a commissioner if they can't afford a device. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, so.
Carrie?
Now, I agree with
Okay. I thought
Commissioner
you had to do that. Beth?
So I think what I can do, if we could just email it to Nicole, and she can provide it to you through the software, perhaps, if she's willing.
You'll have to check.
Yeah, I mean, that's my
way
idea.
above my pay grade, because
Yeah.
I have no idea how that works.
That's
but-
my first idea.
But using paperless with the board's agenda
Mm-hmm.
is very advantageous.
And that's
So-
what,
Just
and that's what
having
Tony's referring to, is that he wants to be able to
text.
mess with it.
Right. I will follow up with that. And as far as Commissioner McNerlin's, how did the printout of staff reports and agenda only work for you this month? Okay. And Commissioner Madrigal and Commissioner Rosenberg, just the hard copy agenda. There'll be extras every month. And did I cover everyone that way? And Tony will go, Tony, I'll deal with Tony. I'll work with Tony on that.
Although last night, I have to say, so,
his request.
or yesterday, over the weekend, I accidentally deleted all of my emails, which I have had like 3,000 emails in my, yeah. And this isn't my personal. It was technology, but I was able to go, thank goodness, so that website's all up to date, so I was able to go to the website, you know, bring up the agenda and read everything on my phone. But, you know, technology is not perfect, and it's important to make sure that we have
Well, I like
some
it.
other access to information.
I like what Dan brought up. I mean, be able to put notes and everything
That would
on
be
there.
great, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really
it's-
nice.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And when it's those huge ones, you do need to download it onto your computer to be able to, you know, I wouldn't bring up the email, so it wouldn't have mattered. I would have downloaded it sometime when I got the agenda so that it was on there. So maybe the software does that, or helps, maybe that annotating software allows you to have it on your computer, because you don't want your changes seen by all the
I
other.
think Kevin Doble, excuse me, Kevin's got that technology with his LAFCO packet, because I see him over here making notes on his LAFCO pages, so he might be a good one to check
Okay,
with.
good.
Okay.
I think what he does is he downloads it to a program that he has on his
Right.
computer that would work out really well.
Well, we should be able to do that.
Yeah, we should too.
Feel free to buy me a tablet if you want to.
So I'm happy to do all of the
I'll look for
software
one in the
research and,
electronic
Yeah,
bin
I
at
think
the
there's a
Willis
little-
Transfer Station for you.
I'm happy to do all this research and possibly obtain software. I'm just going to gently remind you that that's more staff time, just so you're aware of.
Well, let's bring it up again after talking to Kevin and the county and see what other ideas we can come up with. But we're moving in that direction. Okay, I had a couple, we had an email from our past chair, Mr. Shoemaker, about our budget. Did we take care of that? He was I think he was asking how we came up with $633 for the city of Point Arena.
You responded.
I
It's a
did.
formula, isn't it?
He was
We
asking.
don't come up with the number.
Well, I know, but I
No.
guess he was
He
asking.
knows how it's done. I think he was just doing it to formalize it. And he is aware personally of how it's
But he
calculated,
has
and
a
we've talked
copy of
about
the
it.
budget resolution now that it was
Yeah,
approved?
he said that he didn't recall receiving it at the city of Point Arena. And I looked through and we did send it certified, both the proposed and the final.
good.
And so as a courtesy, I just sent him all of that documentation again, plus the proposed budget amendment for this month, and I haven't heard back from him, so.
Okay, good. So we did contact the county and ask them how they determine the fees.
It's the same every year. It's a formula.
But how do they know that when we drop from 125 to 120?
Because when we distribute the budget, they receive a
Okay.
copy. And they work with us very closely.
And the last thing is, I believe our attorney contract is up pretty close, isn't it? I think
I'm
we're
not
supposed
aware.
to, we might check into that and
Okay.
see when that expires.
The Scott Brown one?
Scott Brown, yeah. Maybe bring that back to review
So happy.
or to determine if we want to continue
Okay.
with Mr. Brown or go out to RFP. That's all I had. Anybody else?
Oh my God, this is a record.
All
Any,
right.
This was the
um,
first 24-page packet I have seen in a very, very long time.
And the first 52-minute meeting.
Ever.
Both of those comments.
Are there any requests for budget, agenda items next month? On that note.
I'll move adjournment.
Oh, I
Very
guess that's
good.
no then? Okay.
Good meeting. Who wants to sign checks? Yeah, thank you, John. You're on the, you're on the. Oh, you're having, what